Midas's agency is all about espionage and security, and if you want top-notch security while browsing the internet, a VPN is the way to go. With a VPN-like private internet access, the sponsor of today's video, you'll be able to browse the internet with an extra layer of security. Without it, you'd be letting all of those pesky shadow agents storm your search history. You can connect any of your devices to one of many servers worldwide to stream your favorite shows without region locking.
I've always been a big fan of Doctor Who, but it's not available on Disney Plus in the UK, so with a VPN-like private internet access, I can just connect to a server and get watching.
Sounds pretty sweet, right? It gets sweeter, because if you use my link to sign up, you get 86% off your purchase of a 2-year plan, plus 4 free months. Pretty sweet, huh? At that price, what more can you even ask for? For Aphrodite herself to descend and give you a big old smooch? Yeah, keep dreaming, buddy. Anyway, the general consensus is that Season 2 was the greatest season of Chapter 2. In fact, many herald it as the second golden age of Fortnite. And I'm not here to change that, but the question of the hour is, well, was it? Looking back, I'd like to take an objective lens to this funny little season. Well, not little, actually. Long, in fact, so I guess we'll start there. Yeah, Season 2 was a total of 117 days long, making it the second longest season ever, right behind its immediate predecessor. I find it very interesting that Chapter 2 Season 1 is universally panned for being too long and, quote, boring, but was Season 2 really that full of content? Let's examine. After 5 months of Chapter 2 with little permanent changes, what the map really needed was a shake-up, and it sure did get that with a whopping 5 brand new POIs, which is actually a record for any non-chapter starting season to date. The agency was the main hotspot this season, a huge faction base in the exact center of the island, stuffed full of aimbot henchmen and a boss with a powerful gun. This POI essentially became the Tilted Towers of Chapter 2.
Holy!
Here you could find Midas's drum gun, a mythic variant of the old drum gun that was absolutely busted. Get this in the hands of a default skin, that default is still winning the lobby with 17 kills. The Shark is a personal favourite of mine, an adorable little island on the coast with Sky and her mythic Scar and Grappler. The Grappler was kind of worse than the regular Grappler in range, but it was infinite, so really a valid trade-off there, but the Scar was one of the best mythics in the game's history. Compare the fire rate to the legendary Scar, and there's a noticeable difference. The Grotto is a real fan favourite, the first POI to be completely underground and home to Brutus's mythic minigun. How notable. The Yacht is one of those POIs that just feels made for Chapter 2. With all of the aquatic features introduced around this time, I mean, Boat POI? Come on. It was initially home to Meowscles and his mythic heavy assault rifle. The high tier AK is already a really underrated gun. Not many people would run it, but I'd usually go out of my way to. But the mythic variant? So good. The Yacht was later overtaken by Deadpool because Marvel paid Epic a lot of money, I guess. Anyway, he and his Epic Gamer Chair brought dual hand cannons. Now me, I love the hand cannons, so give me 2 and I'm set for the day, but these kinda sucked. Sorry, they were bad. I didn't use them, they were useless, and I will never forgive you, Ryan Reynolds. The rig is the one that no one really remembers, but it was home to TNTina and her mythic Boombo. Again, the Boombo is a really cool mythic choice, and they gave it this cooldown feature that makes it a lot more balanced than its Season 8 counterpart. The season launch also brought a bunch of smaller map changes, with safe houses set up all around the island housing henchmen and faction chests, dropping unique loot like the suppressed assault rifle and heavy sniper. And there's the new rapid fire SMG, one of my personal favourite SMGs. It feels good to use, and it's, well, rapid. The new season brought new core gameplay features too that really shook up, you'll get that one in a minute, the gameplay loop for Battle Royale for a few seasons. The main thing this season was the addition of vaults. Not only did these boss POIs have mythics, but you could also grab a keycard, go to the vault, and get the loot inside. Vaults were a big part of 2020 Fortnite and a really fun way of getting extra loot and incentivizing dropping at hot locations. Unfortunately, I have the power of hindsight, so I do take issue with the absolute overuse of vaults as a feature. While used very sparingly in the second half of Chapter 2 and in Chapter 3, In Chapter 4, it seemed like Epic just started using them as filler content. Every season had at least 3 vaults in the game, and it got even worse as Season 4 was last resort, basically Chapter 2 Season 2 if it was bad, and the map has up to 6 vaults on it every match, and they didn't even choose hotspots to put them in, they would just put them in random little buildings across the map. The concept of vaults has been degraded so much over the years that it is important to remember that in this season, they were still novel, and they were still a new fun feature, and I did enjoy them. This season also introduced shakedowns, told you you'd get that joke, where you could scan a knocked enemy to scan the location of their teammates. A really great feature that unfortunately did get removed in Chapter 3, but I'd love to see it come back someday. In fact, did anyone hate this feature? There were more smaller, limited time editions like the Creepin' Cardboard, a cute Metal Gear Solid reference, but overall just a worse version of the old bush, and the decoy grenade, which I personally loved, even if basically no one used it in my games. All in all, a really great season launch. There were some interesting decisions, like the loot llamas being removed for some reason. Also, the spike trap was removed for the first time ever, and it wasn't seen again for nearly 4 years. In fact, since then, it's only been in Season OG, and I miss it. I like traps. Please make more traps, Fortnite. But we've established the launch was solid, so how did they build on this? Inconsistently. The first update of the season introduced the proximity mine, a pretty solid explosive item that I recall being in the works since early Chapter 1, so it was cool to see that come to life in the end. It also unvaulted loot llamas. Still not sure why they were even taken out, but yay! The next update introduced a new vehicle, the Chopper. The Chopper is one of those vehicles that just feels good in Fortnite. It carries the whole squad, it doesn't have any firing power, but you can shoot from the sides, and it's just really silly. The following update brought crash pads to go along with the choppers. Crash pads are a great movement option. They can get you out of a bad fall, they're pretty fun mobility with roughly equivalent effectiveness to the old bouncers, and they can be shot out, so they have balance. After that, there wasn't an update for 29 days. Yeah, this is when the delays started kicking in. Just like Season 1, the end of Season 2 was delayed numerous times, by months. And without any firm content plans, the second half of the season was just kind of a drag. Anywho, May 4th brought Star Wars in the first annual Collab Fest event. Lightsabers are, I don't know, they just feel forced into literally any season they've ever been in. They're only in for a few days anyway, so who cares, man? The last new addition was the Kingsman. Now, this is a weird item. There was no promotion for it, no mention of it on socials, nothing. It just appeared one day and disappeared 6 weeks later. It was an umbrella item that you could redeploy with, but also doubled as a melee weapon, and no one's really sure if it was an actual tie-in to the Kingsman movie franchise or just a cute reference. But it was here, and then it wasn't, and it was never heard from again. But that's all the content updates. The issue with this season is, much like its predecessor, the first 2 months had a pretty healthy content flow, but due to delays, there was just nothing for the rest of the season. And this season was 4 months long, mind you. But wait, hold on. There's something I'm missing, isn't there? Oh yeah, they did TV show premieres at Risky Reels, and everyone loved them, right? Man, what a stupid little time. Oh, and there's something else as well, because it wasn't just Battle Royale during this time. Of course, they introduced new playlist. Yes, that's it! Party Royale! Yep, this season introduced Fortnite's very own dating simulator. Party Royale was an interesting experiment. I'm partially convinced Epic's employees were just losing it in lockdown and just went, fuck it, put Tenet in Fortnite. Party Royale was its own playlist on its own island, where you could just chill and hang out, complete mini-games, and watch concerts and movie premieres from companies that gave Epic Games a lot of money. Hey, I'm noticing a trend here. I don't know, it was never my thing. After all those Tinder dates for some reason ghosted me after I asked them to hop on Fortnite for our first date, I turned my back on the mode. But looking back now, it's like a time capsule into 2020 Fortnite, and even if the mode is basically a skeleton now, it's still pretty cool to run through today. Did anyone ever figure out why Kirby was in the trailer? Oh yeah, and then there were the other modes. Yeah, spy games was the big focus this season, a series of spy-themed LTMs that kept progression through a system of perks and item grants, kind of like augments. Okay, I quite enjoyed spy games. There were some cool modes, like the one where you had to escort that one truck from Save the World, but they were also just LTMs at the end of the day, and probably shouldn't have outright replaced Battle Royale content for so long, because LTMs do have a narrowed appeal. Season 2's Battle Pass was easily the best of Chapter 2, and that's not me just reiterating the common rhetoric. Basically every skin from this pass has become a fan favourite or a cult classic, and for good reason. Sky, Meowscles, Brutus, TNTina, Midas, they're all mega fan favourites, all of whom having multiple reskins, except TNTina strangely who still has none, and the golden mastermind of Midas himself being the focus of 2 seasonal events, not even in his own season. Add Maya and Agent Peely on top of that, and Deadpool showing up for some reason, but all of that together and you get one of the highest selling battle passes of all time. Yeah, it was a good one. Of course, I couldn't mention this season without the gravity-defying, world-bending, island-burning Travis Scott concerts that happened bang in the middle of it. And Jesus, what an event. This record-shattering concert genuinely blew my, and I think everyone else's, expectations out of the window and into the ocean. I mean, compare the Marshmallow event to this, and it's like night and day. Don't make fun of me for this, but this event made me get into Travis Scott's music. Like, I didn't listen to Travis Scott, and then the Fortnite event happened, and then I started listening to him. So, yeah, don't shove me into a locker. Not only that, but there was another event this season, The Device. This was the last of the traditional Chapter 1 style live events without much dialogue and cutscenes, but it was still a real cinematic experience. We watched Midas blow up the agency with his Doomsday device and use it to push back the storm, temporarily taking it offline before it was replaced by a wall of water. Oh, and we got our first look at the Imagined Order and Fortnite's eventual protagonist, Agent Jones. Oh, and that music, man, so good. I recall a lot of negativity surrounding this event when it premiered for some reason. I think there were just high expectations after the end and the 6-month wait between live events, but I always thought it was fantastic. Now it's important that I clarify I'm not trying to call this season bad by any means. On this channel I try to hold nuanced perspectives to a game that people really don't try to hold balanced discussions about. If there's a universally panned season I like, I'll try to highlight the good parts people gloss over and not just fit into the common opinion. But no season is perfect, and I think it's equally as important to critically discuss the universally loved, such as is the case of season 12. And I like this season, don't get me wrong, I really had fun in this season, I enjoyed it, but I try to remain objective in my judgment, and it's important to examine its rights and wrongs because a lot of Fortnite's player base seems to have forgotten the latter. A lot of these things this season did right, another one did too. Season 2 had 2 fantastic live events, but so did Season 7. Season 2 had tons of cool map changes, but so did Season 5. And people will say, well, Season 2 had all of them in one, but Season 2 was also nearly 5 months long. And some of the things people used to criticize other seasons, this one suffered from too. The content drought of Season 1 comes to mind. Seasons 1 and 2 had very similar amounts of mid-season content, yet Season 2 is heralded as one of the greats, and Season 1 often in the bottom 5 of all time. I just find the player reception to both of these seasons in retrospect very interesting, and a little contradictory. Now I think the reason for this is fairly obvious, and it's the same reason why this season was so just weirdly developed. Season 2 of Chapter 2 was released in February 2020, right before the entire world went into lockdowns over outbreaks of wobbly knee syndrome. As such, Epic had to develop from home, and for them to make 2 live events, several LTMs, a new vehicle, and a bit more content on the side, it is impressive. When compared to other seasons, it looks far more inconsistent and even maybe a little weak. But it was truly an impressive feat to pull all of this off under the conditions. It's no wonder they had to make it so dang long, they needed the extra dev time. So no, I am by no means hating on Season 12. I think it was a perfectly good season. But I do think its reputation in hindsight is somewhat influenced by the rose-tinted glasses many late teens and young adults now hold for that 2020 era of both Fortnite and the world. I'm sure there are studies being done by people far smarter than myself, but as someone who lived through that as a growing teen, it was a weird time. and it did impact me. And I think it's totally valid for people to hold a connection with the way the game was when they could do nothing but play it with their friends all day every day. I hold this season dearly in my heart too. I think it's important, however, to reflect on its weaknesses, because that soft spot many hold for it now is being used as a weapon against newer seasons. Comments saying, wow, this new season sucks, I missed the Midas season, missed the point that Chapter 2 Season 2's fun came from being stuck at home online with friends, not just from being a good season. As people grow up, get jobs, have families, they don't have time to play Fortnite Season 45 with their friends, and people weaponize that fact when Epic still releases high quality seasons to this day. But Fortnite's atmosphere has changed, the gaming landscape has changed, and the world has changed. And that's okay.